Hello, Michael Leanna here today with a writing activity idea from my book, We Think with Ink. And the game we'll discuss today is one that we call Draft Time in the NFL. This game is probably a longer kind of a game. You can't just play it in a few minutes. It's not one that's meant to be played to fill in a little bit of time before lunch or after recess or something when you've got a little gap in the day. This is a longer game, and sometimes it works best if you have a large number of people. So in a classroom, it's really good. It can be played between just two people, actually. It's a little more complicated that way, but it could be done at home. Just two or three or four people could play it. Not a game that you'd play in the car while driving down the road. A lot of nice word games can be done that way. To play draft day in the NFL, first you have to know a little bit about draft day in the NFL, and some people aren't aware of this, but once a year, all the sports do a draft, and football seems to make the biggest deal about theirs, so that's why we're focusing on football. All the football players who play in college, when their time is finished and they've graduated and they're ready to leave college, they are put into this big pool of names and they are eligible to be drafted by teams in the NFL. And there are 30 or 32 teams now in the NFL. They take turns drafting players, and the team that did the worst last year gets to draft first this year. And in doing this, they hope that the bad teams are not always on the bottom, that they've helped the bad teams get better more quickly. So my team is the Packers, and I don't remember the last time they picked first. It was a long, long time ago. They've been pretty good. That's a good sign. But what we do with this game here today is we take turns picking letters of the alphabet. And this will help to just increase awareness of the letters and how often they're used and how they're used in words. It's mainly just a game to have fun. So what you do is break your class into groups. Now there are 26 letters in the alphabet, and 24 is a good round number where you can break the groups into groups of 3 or 8 or 4 or 6. 12 or 2. So I would say 24. Let's focus on that. And that means there'll be 2 letters left over. And they can be given to teams if you like. Then certain teams will have more letters than others. Or just let 2 letters not get chosen. And that'd be kind of interesting too. Which 2 letters do the players think are not important enough to get picked? And then see if they regret that decision later on. Anyway, you start with a team, and you can just randomly pick a team. Which of the teams in your class? Let's say you've broken your class into groups of maybe there'll be 6 teams to pick. So you've got roughly 4 or 5 kids in a group. You have 6 teams. So team 1 gets to pick a letter. Which letter do they want to choose? Which letter do they think will be used the most, or which would be the most valuable to them? Now keep in mind, each of these letters, to play this game, each of these letters gets a value to it. We're going to use the Scrabble value system. So the letter J would be worth 8 points. Q or Z was worth 10. E, S, A, those are letters that are used a lot, and you'll see a lot on a printed page in any book. Those are worth just 1. So a team who gets first choice might pick a letter like Z and hope that it gets used a lot. It probably won't be used a lot, but when it is used, it's worth 10 points. So the members of the teams will have to put their heads together and do some decision making. And this is what the football teams do also every year. They kind of decide what player do we want out of all these players available. And what I would do is I would write the alphabet on the board, or somehow have it visible for people to see. so that when a letter is chosen, you can take that one off, and then you'll be able to see which are left to choose from. So let's just say team number 1 chooses the letter S, because that's going to get used a lot, and each time they'll get 1 point for that. So they choose S, and S is now off the board. The second team gets to choose, and maybe they're more of a risk-taking team, and they say, let's go with a letter like H. It's worth 4 points, according to the Scrabble system, and H will get used quite a bit. So that's a pretty good one to choose because it's worth 4 points, and they go with that one. The next team might pick the letter E, which gets used an awful lot, and each time it's worth 1. And as you go around, all 6 teams get to take a pick, and then it starts again. The first team gets to make a second choice, and you go until you've chosen 24 letters. Now, it works a little bit like the royalty system. When a song is used, if someone owns the rights to that song, and they get a little chunk of money every time some song is used on a CD or used on a TV show or something. So this way, we're kind of comparing that to this. If your team owns the rights to the letter E, every time it's used, you get a little chunk. And every time, if you own the letter X, every time it's used, you get a chunk. And we'll see what happens then as you go. You just take a book then, once everybody's got their letters, you take any random book, and you can decide ahead of time if you like, and then just call on somebody, tell them this particular book here is a mystery story, and it has 410 pages. Just ask somebody, pick a page, please, between 1 and 410. And let's just say they said page 166. So you flip to that page, and that's where you're going to start. And you'll just choose, you're just going to take the first 20 words on that page. If you like, you can always change these rules a little bit to fit the situation better. You could have the first 10 words or the first 50 words or whatever you want to do, however much time you have to spend. Now, here's page 166 in this book, and the first word on the page is I, the word I. So which team owns the word I, or owns the letter I? It's worth 1 point. Team number 4, let's say, has that letter, so they get to tally 1 point for themselves. The next word is suppose. I suppose. Who owns the letter S? That team gets a 1 point. Who owns the letter U? That team gets 1 point. Now, the letter P comes next, and that's worth 2 points. So, and there are 2 of them. So this is how you play the game. You keep tallying points for the letters that you've chosen to be on your team. You've made a team of letters for yourself, and you own the rights to those letters. Now, if you chose a letter like Q, it's unlikely you're going to see it often, unless perhaps you take at random a Harry Potter book and you open it to a page where they're talking about Quidditch a lot. That would kind of throw things off a little bit, and that can always happen. Or maybe there's a book where somebody's name is Quincy or something, and they keep using the word Quincy. That would kind of throw things off, but that happens sometimes. My suggestion is, once everybody has their letters, play the game, and then play it again with those same letters and try a different book and a different piece of writing, of course, and you'll see if it's any consistency to this. Is the letter E a very good choice to make? Is that letter H a good one? And then maybe, play the game several times with those letters, and then mix things up again if you want to play it. Wait some time and play it again, and let people choose new letters. Put their heads together again and see, did we like having that letter J on our list, or is that one that didn't work out so well? And choose again. People who think S is a good choice and picked it first, number 1, maybe they'll think that was actually a good choice. Or maybe they'll say, well, that didn't work out so well. Draft day in the NFL. It's kind of a fun game. It can be played in a large group or small. Large group is best. And it takes some time to play. It takes some a little bit of math skills. It takes some thinking skills and cooperation. It takes some word knowledge and letter awareness. Lots of good points to playing this game. And it might even lead to people who didn't enjoy the NFL draft before. Maybe they'll get more out of it when they see it in the news the next time they have an NFL draft. They'll understand it a little bit better. Okay, hope you have fun with that game. Thanks. Bye.